ANC Limpopo delegates are attending what really is the resumption of the party's conference, virtually their 55th conference. Provincial chairperson Stanley Matabata did a bit of a U-turn at Nasrec in December when he decided to support Zweli Mkhize instead of party president Cyril Ramaphosa. It's going to be for a fascinating couple of years. eNCA's Moloko Moloto in Polokwane covering the story for us. Hello to you, Moloko. So some of the big issues that the ANC in Limpopo are addressing, and I suppose we need to start with the fact that the leadership in Limpopo were not backing the man that is now in charge.
Well, good evening, Gareth. Of course, the branches of the ANC in Limpopo held their provincial general council meeting just before the national conference. This was to consolidate the mandate of the branches, and the agreement out of that provincial general council meeting was that the province will back President Cyril Ramaphosa for re-election for the #1 position in the ANC. However, we saw at the conference at the 11th hour, the leaders of the ANC in the province, specifically the chairperson Stanley Matabata, along with the deputy chairperson Florence Radzilani, making an about 10, deciding that they are no longer following the mandate of branches and they supported Zweli Mkhize. However, we saw the secretary of the province, Ruben Madache, issuing out a statement saying that the position of the PEC and the position of the branches hasn't changed. Limpopo supported President Cyril Ramaphosa back then. However, this morning, as the delegates were convening at Bolivia Lodge in Polokwane to continue with that particular agenda conference, we spoke to the provincial spokesperson of the ANC, the spokesperson of the PEC specifically, Mr. Jimmy Machak, and we asked what would be the position going into this resumption of the conference regarding those two leaders. And he said, look, that is water under the bridge at this point in time. They were allowed, those leaders, to lobby, but also to be lobbied. But of course, we asked what would the province's position be going into that particular discussion, particularly the policy position. And he pointed out that the issue of energy is going to be important, indicating that the province does not support the idea of closing down the coal-fired power stations that are owned by Eskom. You would be aware that there's an attempt to move away from coal in South Africa towards renewable energy. You would also be aware that in October, Cabinet, that is chaired by President Cyril Ramaphosa, endorsed the Just Energy Transition Investment Plan, which means that South Africa will, in the coming 5 years, make efforts to move away from coal towards renewables. And that comes at a cost of about $8.5 billion that's been pledged by countries in the West, particularly the European Union and the United States and the UK. Now, that means that the people in the mining sector, about 90,000 of them who are employed there, will have to find a way of also being transitioned so that they can be relevant. Otherwise, they will lose their jobs. But if you consider the fact that in South Africa, 90% of the energy is actually sourced from coal currently, and 5%
All right, looks like we are losing Moloko Moloto for the moment. My apologies for the slight breakup in connection. If you take a look at the top right-hand side of your screen, we are currently in stage 4 blackouts, and I'm sure, as we've all experienced, it is causing some issues with cell phone connection. However, I think the soundbite, if my team has it ready for me, the big thing that we were talking about ahead of the ANC conference this weekend is all got to do with resolutions, the adoption of resolutions and how to take those forward. I think that's where Moloko was going there. Let's take a listen to how the ANC is going to handle resolutions and where we are with them now.
Look, some of the key resolutions that we anticipate that will come out of this second phase of the national conference is, amongst other things, that while we accept and welcome the mixed energy economy that will respond to challenge of load shedding, however, we are opposed to a total shutdown of coal mines, because those particular mines are positively contributing towards the economic development, towards the employment rate in our province and in some other parts of other provinces in South Africa. But we are anticipating a very bold statement at this conference on time frame and practical steps on how to end load shedding. We are expecting very practical steps on how to reduce the high level of unemployment rate in South Africa.
On the step aside, do you support that it be scrapped totally?
Our Provincial General Council has resolved that we should sustain the step aside. Instead, we should call it for it to be reviewed so that its implementation is consistent and does not give any room for manipulation.